Welcome back to the Mill Creek Government Channel. I'm Jessica Stutzman. With over 205 acres, 5 miles of trails, and year-round programs, there is always something new to discover at Asbury Woods. Joining us today from this very special organization is Executive Director Jennifer Farrar. Jennifer, thank you for joining us here today, and we love having you back on the show.
Yeah, thanks so much. It's great to see you again, and appreciate being here.
Well, Asbury Woods was recently recognized by Nonprofit Partnership as Nonprofit of the Year. Can you tell me a little bit about this award and what it meant to your organization?
Yeah, well, thanks for bringing it up. It was a really proud moment for the organization. It happened, we were recognized in June 2021, and it was really gratifying because, you know, it's something that it really took us, it's several years of work to lead up to it, and it takes everybody who supports and contributes to Asbury Woods. It's, you know, our staff members, our board members, the hundreds of volunteers, the thousands of donors. Missing any one piece of those, and it wouldn't put us in the position that we're in. So we're so grateful for the recognition, and really grateful to share it with the community, because it's the community that helped make it possible for us.
Was there an application process, or is this something that the nonprofit partnership, you know, chose Asbury Woods? How did it all come about?
So there is an application process, and actually our current board chair put together the application and nominated us.
And isn't it great to have board members that are so active in your organization and are really good at what they do and can do, you know, can put together, you know, stuff like this for you. But I'm also sure on your end that it was, you know, equally rewarding to have your board member want to do this.
It was nice that he wanted to put our name forward, and, you know, and really try and recognize what the staff has done and the way all these different segments of Asbury Woods have come together for that moment. And yeah, we have a great board of directors, and they're so supportive and engaged, and this is just another way that gives that as an example that he was willing to put together that application and put us forward for that recognition.
Well, that's wonderful. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You guys really deserve it. And I know that Asbury Woods, you guys really chugged on through this pandemic. Through 2020, 2021, you kept offering programs, and you know, you went virtual for some time, and then you're back in person, but then you're also offering this hybrid, which is even more work than before, but you made it all happen. And so I just want to know, you know, despite all of the challenges, what lessons did you guys learn over the last couple of years?
Well, I think like many organizations and businesses, and even just people as individuals, the past year we all learned so many new skills. And I think that's what it was all about for us, is continuing to be creative and keep our mission in mind, and have to rethink, okay, we might not be able to do it in the traditional way, but how can we still deliver on our mission? You know, our staff was wonderful and creative and flexible. You know, the Nature Center was closed to the public from March through September for 6 months. You know, so our visitor service staff, we were able to redirect them and keep them employed, but doing different things and doing other kinds of things for us to help us towards that mission, and keep being flexible and creative. And I think what we learned was that, you know, as things go back more normal, whatever that is going to look like, I think some of these solutions aren't going to go away for us. We're going to continue to try and offer some virtual content, some hybrid content, and really recognize that people are looking for flexible options and different ways to engage. So I don't think that will ever fully go back for us. I think we're going to try and continue to offer that kind of flexibility so people can engage in the way that they're comfortable with, and the way that meets their needs.
Yes, and I want our viewers to know, if you haven't checked it out recently, you do need to go, and again, I did a lot of this virtual web surfing, like, you know, okay, I'm stuck in the house, and, you know, you really want that connection to the outdoors. And I know that I've just been doing so much research on how good the connection to the outside, to the, you know, to the earth, the outside, the air, the dirt, everything. It's so good for your mental health. It's so good for your physical health. But so when you do some, you know, some web surfing and whatnot, Asbury Woods, you have a wonderful, dynamic website. And I just think that you guys did an amazing job, not just, keeping up with the times and having a website, but it is really engaging. So I think you guys do a fantastic job, again, with the virtual content, but just really sucking you in to each one of your programs through your website.
Thank you. That was a project that kept our marketing director busy through much of 2020. That website launched in March of 2021. Luckily, we were able to get some grant funding from the Erie Community Foundation that helped us do that website, and that was our big goal with it, of how can we integrate some technology things, knowing it's not just like a place. We didn't want it to be just a stopover for people. We wanted them to be able to engage and get some content from it. So yeah, we're super excited about it. It's working. It gives us a lot of flexibility of how we can present programs and content to people, and really trying to give people some tools that if they do decide to come and visit on their own, not come to a program, some tools of things they can do when they're on the property and when they can do when they're on the trail. So yeah, thank you.
So Jennifer, the summer season is winding down. Do you want to share with our viewers, just to recap, some of the fun summer things that happened here in 2021?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, our summer season is always just so much fun. We're going nonstop at Asbury Woods during the summer. I mean, we love people to come in all seasons, but of course summer is prime time for people to come. I think that there was a day about 2 weeks ago, so it was mid-July, and we had 3 of our own summer camps running. We had a camp going on in collaboration with the Erie City Mission. We had a camp at Brown's Farm Barn that was in collaboration with the Intermediate Units Migrant Education Program. We had a toddler program happen. We had in the evening our own board meeting, and then in that evening the county council meeting was held at Asbury Woods. So I mean, it was just 12 hours.
8 a.m. to 8 p.m.
The whole thing, and that's not even talking people who were just at the nature center or walking the trails. And I went home and just was like, whew. But I thought, what a day. I mean, we had the whole range of from preschoolers to engaged citizens at the county council meeting. We had all ages, people just out on the property and enjoying it. And I thought that's what summer's all about at Asbury Woods. And that's what Asbury Woods is, a place for people of all ages to come and experience it in so many different ways. And we're a community resource like that, and the community supports it with their donations and by coming and participating in programs. And that's just was one day. Mm-hmm. And that's how our summers are, and it's just great. It's such a great feeling to know that the property and the buildings are being used and enjoyed by people from all over the region.
Yeah, and I know sometimes I think I've referred to Asbury Woods as a hidden gem, but it's not hidden.
No, it's not. It's not quite as hidden.
Yeah, which is great though. I mean, I'm so glad so many people take advantage of this great resource, here in Mill Creek Township in our very own backyard. And you have a lot of exciting stuff going on. First of all, you're constantly improving upon your mission statement and, your plans and things like that. But what improvement projects were done this summer and what's on the horizon?
Yeah, so one of the big ones that we have been working on for quite some time recently is we've been doing some removal of some invasive species in some certain areas of the property adjacent to the boardwalk. We've had some volunteers who have been working on that for quite some time. And this summer, we actually reached sort of a critical mass, or late spring, where they had removed enough in a certain area that it was time to replant. So we replanted, I think it was 13 sugar maple trees, looking to the future, because obviously maple trees and tapping maple trees is a big part of what we do. So we replanted sugar maple trees in that area, which was great. It's great for the property, great for the environment to get rid of the invasives, put back some native species. So we're constantly trying to do projects like that and address, sort of the land and the conservation and taking care of the land as well. So that was a nice one that we were able to do. And sort of on the immediate horizon here in September, we are going to be redoing a parking lot. Actually, there's a parking lot that's across the street from the baseball fields. And while we'll be making it into a designated parking lot with some lines, We'll also be removing some old asphalt and sort of actually reducing the amount of space that's hard surface. So that's happening in September. We have this fall some brush hogging and land management that we'll be doing at Brown's Farm as well. You know, that's intended to be a meadow area there, and you have to pay attention to it or else big woody trees start to take root, and so that is overdue for some attention, and we do have some grant funding to help us do that this fall as well. So yeah, we're always trying to take good care of the property as well.
Yeah, and that's great foresight with, you know, planting new trees and whatnot. Something that we recently experienced in a couple of our parks was that when, you know, whoever had the park before us or the land before us planted all of the trees at once, and that's great, but when all the trees mature, that means they also all die at the same time. And so you do have to, you know, every, you know, 10, 50 years, whatever that time frame may be, you know, plant new life so that when, you know, when those old trees, you know, when they do need to come down or when they've hit their life expectancy, they're not all coming down at once. You have something, you know, growing in its place to replace them. So that is awesome.
That's interesting because a very recognizable part of Asbury Woods has that exact situation going on. So as you pull in the main driveway by the Nature Center, if you look to your right, there's a huge stand of pine trees that are all the same size and height basically, and they were actually all planted by Otto Barron when he owned the property, but all at the same time. You know, so that is definitely something that's on our radar, that all those trees are going to be reaching certain points in their life cycle at the same time. You know, so it's those kinds of land management decisions that we are constantly thinking about too, you know, to make sure that we're being good stewards of the resource.
Right, and something I learned recently through the whole tree inventory process was that, you know, if you have a tree maybe out in the forest, it may last, you know, let's just say 150 or 200 years. But if it's in a suburban area, a neighborhood, and there's a lot of asphalt or, you know, things that put stressors on a particular tree, you know, you're going to cut that life expectancy down by about 50 years. So it just depends on, you know, where the tree is located as to, you know, how many years it will survive. So just an interesting fact that we learn along the way.
Well, and that's one of the things that we talk about at Asbury Woods, because yes, we're conserving the property, we're preserving it, we want to take good care of the plants and animals, but we also know we're balancing that out with a human impact, because yes, trees that are really close to the trail, they're probably not going to last as long. They're not going to reach maybe their natural height that they would have, because their roots are, you know, compacted constantly with thousands and thousands of people walking on them. But yet we're balancing that out with it. We want to be a place that is not just preserved for preservation's sake and no one ever gets to enjoy it.
Right.
So we have those conversations all the time about balancing out those various factors in the decision making.
Yeah, and I think balance, what you just said, I think that's the perfect word to describe it, because you don't want it to be a museum. You want people to be engaged. So I understand balancing the environmental aspect with, you know, keeping people engaged. But, you know, I think the more, again, allowing, you know, folks to use the trails and whatnot makes them engaged to the environment, and it makes them want to protect the environment. So, you know, you can't keep it too off limits, because then, you know, they feel like they're not a part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, we're also an educational organization, so we want them to come and enjoy it, and through using the space, yes, have an appreciation for protecting natural places. So yeah, absolutely.
So speaking of education, something I love talking about, and Mill Creek Township has partnered with Asbury Woods, gosh, 1 year or 2 years now, I'm starting to lose track because it's just going so well, but that we are going to continue hosting our composting workshops with Asbury Woods. How did these compost workshops fit into your overall programming and mission?
Yeah, I mean, I think anytime you're talking about environmental education, a big part of the conversation is what can people do as individuals. So composting at home is a really high impact thing that they can do as individuals that can roll up into a bigger impact on the environment. So, I mean, it's a great fit for environmental education. You know, I think of it when we do rain barrel programs, same thing, how people can use rain barrels and use that water. So the composting is a great fit for our mission. And I have to tell you, I watched your video and Melissa's video, the virtual hybrid version that we did last year. And you know, and I had never composted at home, and it inspired me, and I decided to go with like the 2-barrel system that you were using, so I always had things in rotation. So
I know, and I've been doing it for 10 years, and every year I learn something new. I pick up a new tidbit from somebody else. I mean, I'm educating, but I'm constantly taking, you know, classes and workshops to make sure I'm, you know, learning something new and improving the process. And the one thing I think that Melissa and I took away from this was, of course, we were forced into virtual, and that worked out really well. And then, but composting is a really hands-on process. So what we wanted to do was, you know, we were coming off, you know, the bulk of the pandemic, and people were starting to do stuff in person. So, but not everybody was comfortable with that yet. So we offered this hybrid option. It was like part virtual and part in-person viewing party. And we got, again, I would say half and half. The class was totally split between virtual and in-person. And when we received our surveys, one of the ones that struck me the most was someone had thanked us for doing the hybrid option, asked us to continue doing this, not particularly even because of the pandemic, but because she was a mom who couldn't find a babysitter. And that just struck a chord with me, because I was like, I get it. I can't always ask, tap into my babysitting resources. But I want everybody to compost. And so hearing that comment, it makes us want to do a hybrid version moving forward, so that everybody can be engaged, and maybe, you know, just because you can't make it to our particular workshop doesn't mean we don't want you to participate. We definitely do. So
yeah, and I think that speaks to the trying to meet people where they are and allow them options on how to engage. I mean, I think I watched it 3 weeks later after you guys did it, you know, which was great, because and I know other people would feel the same way. They can watch it when they're ready. And on their timeline to implement the program or the changes that they've learned about. So.
Exactly. So I will mention, to go to the Asbury Woods website. We're going to host the compost workshop in October. We let 50 households into the workshop, and it fills up fast. So I would get on the website quickly and sign up as soon as you can. And just a fun fact is that Americans on average waste 30 to 40% of their food waste and send it to the landfill, when it can be diverted into a backyard compost bin. And so I did just a quick 1 week experiment. I had my kitchen pail, and then I had my daughter step on the scale with it. And so I had, I weighed it, and I, subtracted her weight from it. But in 1 week, our family, we had composted 5 pounds. And so I multiplied that out over, the weeks in a year. And so I just did a little bit of quick math, but 5 pounds is a rough amount of what we can compost in 1 week, rather than, again, sending it to a landfill, where it takes forever to break down, even if it's organic, because other things like plastic and things like that, get compacted and lay on top of it. So it's a great alternative. It reduces methane emissions. So it's really just an all-around win-win. So
yeah, and that's exactly like I was mentioning, the impact of one person, 5 pounds a week over a year. If everybody did that's a huge impact, and it's such a simple process. And like you said, I'm not sure I'm going to be doing it exactly right the first time, or the first year we're going to get the perfect soil or the perfect mix, but we're trying it, and I'm sure we'll learn along the way.
And that's okay. You're making that step, and you're making the effort, and that's, like I said, it's great to have compost at the end of it. It's a bonus, but to me the reward is really, like I said, preserving landfill space and not sending unnecessary organic trash to the landfill.
And it's a fun thing to engage the kid. My kids are like, they're older teenagers,
Yes.
but they're sort of taking responsibility for making sure we turn it, and they know to put it in the little bin on the counter, to put their scraps from cutting strawberries or things like that. So we've been able to engage not just myself, but the teenagers in it. So hopefully it makes an impact for them over their lifetime as well.
And my 3-year-old, she is famous for, Daddy, you have to compost those coffee grounds. I mean, she is on you. She is the compost police.
Right.
And the other fun thing with the kids is to open up the bin, spin it a couple times, but open up the bin, and there are, good bugs in this compost bin. And so, the good bugs that we find, the roly-polies and some of the spiders and, some of the other things that help, the worms that help break down the compost. Kids love bugs.
They do, yeah. Well, I'm glad we're able to continue that partnership. It's a great fit for Asbury Woods and the township to do together.
Us too. So fall is always a busy time at Asbury Woods. You're gearing up to do a lot of things with the seasonal festivities. How are those shaping up for 2021?
Yeah, so we were planning. We were able to do both of them last year as well. Our October Scary Creature Feature and our September Honey Harvest event are two of our seasonal ones in the fall. We made some modifications last year, like everything was completely outside, limiting group sizes. And I think no matter what the COVID status is, whether we're on an upward trajectory or not, the way we did them really worked. It was good crowd control. It was good limiting the number of people that were in each group so they could really engage with the presenters. So we're moving forward with planning them like we did last year. And they're always those fun family days, and we try to tailor it so if you come with little ones, or if you come just as 2 adults, you still can get something, there's still something to take away from it, from those educational events.
Yeah, and speaking of the events, do you need volunteers to work the events or help out in any other way at Asbury Woods?
Yeah, so we always are using volunteers. Even during the pandemic, we had some people who said, I still want to come volunteer. Do you have something I could sit outside by myself at a picnic table and do? So we have lots of volunteer opportunities. We actually have a volunteer coordinator who, will help orient people and talk through the different opportunities. They're actually listed on our website that you can sign up right online and immediately start looking at the types of volunteer jobs that we have listed there. Everything from gift shop to, copying and filing in the office, people who love to come and pull weeds, and help with gardens and trail maintenance. So we have lots of things, and we certainly couldn't do everything we do at Asbury Woods without those volunteers. I mean, the resource of time and talent they bring to us is huge. It's very difficult to calculate. You can say the number of hours, but to put an actual value on that is really huge for us. So.
Yes.
We always encourage people to, if they're thinking about it, just check it out and give it a try.
Absolutely. And we have just only a couple minutes here left today, but I want to tell you, I want to make this mention. Every time I go to Country Fair, I pull up to the Pump for Charity pump, and I just want you to give a quick plug for how you're doing with that fundraiser.
Yeah, I mean, it is incredible that Country Fair does this we're one of 5 nonprofits that are benefiting from this, and it's over 6 months. So from May through the end of October, every time you use those charity pumps at Country Fair, 2 cents of every gallon is then distributed back to those nonprofits. And, over 6 months, that equals a really, really significant amount of money for each of these 5 nonprofits. So, it's money you're going to spend anyway on gas this summer, going places and doing all the things you missed out on last year. So we really appreciate when people take the time to go through that pump.
Yeah, absolutely. You'll just see me circling the gas station until I can get in there,
until one opens up. Good.
Oh, Jennifer, thank you so much for being on the show with us here today. As always, we love Asbury Woods. We love everything that you guys do, and we're so glad that you're here for the community and providing such great programming.
Oh, thank you. Well, we couldn't do it without the community support. So we are equally grateful for what the community does for us to make sure we can continue on.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Viewers, again, this was a great great show with Asbury Woods. We love having Jennifer on the show. As I mentioned earlier, please feel free to check out their website. It is stunning and it does make you want to engage with the outdoors and the environment. They have so many cool programs coming up in the fall. We just mentioned composting, but there is a lot more. And of course, they always need volunteers. So I want to thank you for tuning into the Mill Creek Government Channel. And until next time, have a great day.